Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Today's June 28th, 2016. Unfortunately, the top news headline, another reported tragedy. This time it's the bombing of the Istanbul airport. For many people, this will give them an instant reminder of the Belgium airport attack, March 22nd, 2016. In this video, I am going to show how the March 22nd airport bombing and today's bombing, June 28th, are directly connected to each other. As I continue to expose, we as a people are being bombarded with purposeful propaganda that is meant to steer us down the path of needless war for the sake of agenda. The reason this is done to us is because we are ruled over by a system known as central banking. And throughout the modern history of the world, there have been wars fought over having central banks. The Civil War in America was very much about the central bank. The reason central banks are so much opposed, which we are under now, the Federal Reserve is a central bank, is because it's a form of banking that is a massive Ponzi scheme. It survives on the creation of debt. It needs debt continually created to survive. And in this world, the best way to create debt is with war. That's why throughout the history of the United States of America, which has mostly been with a central bank, there has been endless war. War creates debt dollars feed the central banking system, this massive Ponzi scheme that we live under. You know, all these economists for the past 20 years have been predicting that the economy is going to collapse because they're taking the knowledge that they learn at university, which is logic that makes sense, which is sound. They learn this system, but it's not the real system we live under. The system we live under is a giant Ponzi scheme that runs on war and continual debt creation. And the Ponzi scheme is really kept afloat with continual propaganda and getting people to buy into lies and a system. And a big part of that system is going along with needless war, tucking your head down, sticking to your own business, going to school, going to work, worrying about yourself, paying your taxes, and, not thinking about much else. So that's why this is done to us. It's all part of a grand scheme that has been built around us. From the beginning of our lives in the United States, many of us in the Western world the exact same. We're told that our country is the greatest. What we do is noble. When we go to war, it's right. And we're taught not to question this. As if we're the authority, we're always in the right. We're the good guys, our opponents are the bad guys. And most people in this nation are walking around with that mindset, not thinking, not questioning, not accepting. And when they see these stories of terrorism, they just agree. And they say, okay, there's a bad guy out there. My country needs to go to war. That's what needs to be done. And it never gets deeper than that with most Americans when it comes to thinking about this news. But people need to start thinking more deeply because they're not realizing how their futures are being mortgaged away. War. Our resources go to war instead of bettering this world, bettering education, the quality of food, the quality of life. This is what happens by us tucking our heads and saying things are good enough. We reject the better world we could live in. So now let's transition to how these stories are scripted by the numbers. As I make the video, they just updated the death count from 10 to 28, and it will likely change again. It's typical in these stories for the death toll to start much smaller than it is, expand to a larger number, and then come back down. That seems to be the general pattern from following these news stories. If you're new to my channel, I show how these stories are scripted by the numbers. So just for right now with what they're reporting, 10 and 28, I find these numbers to stand out. On 10/10, October 10th, there was a bombing in Ankara, Turkey. They reported 86 dead at first. I have a video on that, how that attack was by the numbers. The date of October 10th, 2015, the date of that attack was a date with 28 numerology. 10/10 was a date with 28 numerology, and 28 is relevant because the country attacked, Turkey, has gematria of 28. This is an attack in Turkey by the numbers. I will link the older videos to the work already done on the Turkey bombings from October 10th up to the present. For the rest of this video, we'll talk about how this attack connects to the March 22nd attack in Belgium, France. I'll also link my work from Belgium in case you haven't seen it. Here they are with the updated numbers from 10 to 28. So here's what stands out. From the Belgium attack March 22nd to today, June 28th, is a span of 98 days. Istanbul, the target of today's attack, has gematria of 98. If you're new to my channel, gematria is the practice of coding numbers into words. The mainstream media is always using this language to communicate. Istanbul 98, so does the word prophet. And this gang that codes stories by numerology, they very much use the holy texts of the world as their playbook. In the Quran, it's Muhammad who's the central figure. Muhammad is the prophet. In this propaganda that stages Western governments against Islamic extremism, they routinely code numbers relevant to the Quran. Let me take you to a story from nearly a year ago. I'm writing about this in my book. My book will be finished soon. This is just a small part. So, this small section of my book, what you should know is it's part of a book that begins with around the time of the Pilgrims, and from history at that point up to the present, showing how it has been scripted by the numbers. What we learned in the history books and what we learn about now daily in the media. This has been going on all this time because there is a gang that rules over us known as Freemasonry, and they abide by esoteric knowledge such as the importance of numbers and practices such as gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. These people have designed our calendar, they've built this world around us, and this practice of doing things by the numbers is a religion to them. So last year, July 16th, 2015, it was the last day of Ramadan, and supposedly there was a terror attack by a young Muslim man, said to be 24 years old, who had become radicalized by online propaganda, Islamic extremism, and in turn he went on a killing rampage, unprovoked, in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He did this on the last day of Ramadan, very important holiday to the Muslim faith. This year, people are concerned about July 16th in Washington, D.C., because they're trying to have the largest Christian gathering in the nation's capital ever. So anyhow, last year, July 16th, it was a date with 58 numerology. Freemasonry equals 58, very special number to the gang. It was a date with 38 numerology. Death equals 38. They said the shooter was named Muhammad Yusuf Abdulaziz, the 24-year-old, a name with gematria of 98 like prophet. Again, radicalized by Islam, which follows the Quran, which is around the Prophet Muhammad. All throughout history, what I show is this coding has been put on these Islamic boogeymen, all part of the sick joke. This joke is put on by the Masons, who are a Zionist front, meaning they support the Zionist state of Israel, something that's forbidden in the Torah, something that goes against the real Jewish faith. They support this Zionist front that has made Islam their enemy. And because the Zionists and Masons control the media, they're conditioning the people of the world to hate Islam the same way they do and see them as an enemy just as they do. These people control the media. They are using their control to bias the people of the world in an agenda of propaganda. So, why did they choose this to happen in Chattanooga, Tennessee? Here's why. Tennessee has gematria of 52, just like the word prophecy, also like Ramadan. Ramadan has gematria of 52. This was the last day of Ramadan, this shooting. They said the shooter was 24 years old. They said his birthday was September 5th, which was exactly 52 days after the shooting. He would have turned 25. Notice Ramadan equals 25 the small way. He would have turned 25 52 days later. As I show in the book, all of these shootings, all of this propaganda, it's staged the same way. The characters are created the same way. When the details roll out about who's responsible for this Istanbul bombing today, these characters will be contrived the same way. Tennessee also has gematria of 106, the big way like prophecy. Special numbers to the game. So my book, it'll be finished later this summer. It's getting close to 1,000 pages of all of this. You know, it'll be a thorough read, but it'll be a real index. When you want to show people how the propaganda was scripted in history, this book's going to cover it. I have pretty much everything you can think of in this book and more. So today's attack, 98 days after the last airport attack in Istanbul. They're now saying that 28 people are dead, started with 10. The airport that was hit, the Ataturk airport, that has gematria of 63. As I continue to talk about, 2016, 63 major number connections. If you add every number up to 63, it sums to 2016. This is the special number this year, 63, 2016. With regards to the attack 98 days ago, I'll link my video if you haven't seen it. Have a lot of work on the Belgium airport attack. That attack, it took place March 22nd, a date that can be written 22/3. And they said that the airport was attacked as well as the Melbeek metro station. In gematria, that sums to 223, just like the date March 22nd, 22/3. This number is very important to the gang, Freemasonry, the word Masonic, gematria of 223, a number coded in false flag attacks again and again. These people operate by the holy texts. Revelation, the final book of the Bible, very much important to their code. So much of their code is done according to Revelation. In Revelation, it says the false Jews will rule in the end times, who are the Zionist Jews. They're referred to as the synagogue of Satan, gematria of 223. Again, Freemasonry, Zionism, directly connected. In Belgium, the worst terror attack before the March 22nd airport bombing was December 13th, 2011, exactly 223 weeks earlier. And that's what I mean when I say these attacks are scripted by the numbers. I have a longer video going into the greater details. They said the attacker's name in gematria, or they said his age was 33. His name codes out to the numbers of significance. The neighborhood has gematria of 33. It's another attack by the numbers, part of the ongoing propaganda. You know, this has been going on since September 11th, 2001, and really even decades before that. It's just been highly accelerated since September 11th. As for the 1010 bombing in Turkey, 1010 connects to Revelation in Jewish gematria. Again, that was a date with 28 numerology, Turkey, 28 in gematria. They're now reporting 28 dead, of course. From the October 10th, the 1010 bombing, to the next major attack in Turkey, or well, there was one on January 12th as well, but from the 1010 bombing to the latest March 13th before today, that was a difference of 156 days. When you write out 33, it sums to 156. When you write out false flag, it sums to 33. This is what's been going on all this time. Coordinated false flag attacks by numbers of significance again and again for the sake of agenda. This is how they build their war narrative. This is how they spend more money on police and military. You know, here in the United States in the post 9/11 time, we've seen our police become militarized, armored vehicles, heavy gear, more weapons. And what have we seen in the same time? Schools closed, less hours, less programs. You know, school grounds aren't even kept up. This is the cost of tucking our heads and ignoring what's going on. We are being led down a horrible path. It is very transparent. If you can't see it yet, please watch my other videos. Please figure out how to get my book when it's out. I'm going to make it as cheap as possible so everybody can get this knowledge and we can stop what's going on. Until next time, Truth Seekers.